point of view too far, need to zoom in. Ain't got no facts, you assuming. About to call them blue, the way you be cluing. Stay awake, not woke, I'm tuned in. Your point of view too far, need to zoom in. Ain't got no facts, you assuming. About to call them blue, the way you be cluing. Have we had enough of your lies for one night? Have we felt enough of our pain to know it's real? How do you feel? Sick and tired of the lies, all I'm feeling is the pain. It's the devil in disguise while I'm standing in the rain. Water pouring from the sky, but you tell me the opposite. Like I don't have a consciousness, like I'm stuck in the matrix and my brain's up for the taking. But we don't do that, I know my facts. They say that he was elected, but where the stats at? They say that jab the only way to get your life back. But if you have a heart attack, then they will go to hide that. Look at the FDA, acting like KKK, trying to run all our lives like we they brand new slaves. Lose the job, bent from playing segregation, all the same. They call themselves progressives, but they taking us all back again. Bring the world to darkness and sacrifice the children. Then when it's said and done, then you will never live with hope again. I say that we break the chains, we can't leave the world the same. Make love real again. As we fly above the truth, I ask of God, am I with you? I walk the path, go to the light, but still I feel that.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and I don't know where my camera is. This is so strange, is it? This is weird. Hold on, give me just a second here. This is the first time this has ever happened to me. My camera is missing, and I don't see a good reason why. Okay, for the first little bit of this show, while I troubleshoot the issues here, we're gonna figure this out in a second. I don't understand the glitch here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can't see me, but we are here live on a multitude of platforms as we do every every Monday and Wednesday at 4 p.m. here on YouTube, Rumble, and Twitch, where we cover news stories. Now, I don't know why you can't see me. Everything is working fine on my end here. I'll turn my camera off and on. Aaron Behringer's in the chat roasting me. He says, "Crouching Crump hidden Chandler brief today, boyos." I'm sorry, there's nothing wrong with my software, and it was working fine just a second ago. I could see myself, but now all of a sudden it's gone. This might just be a podcast show. Roxanne Shante says, "Guess this is a podcast." Now, I apologize for the inconvenience, folks. There's nothing wrong over here. I don't understand. All right. Well, until something randomly pops back in. Hold on. Wait. Nope. I think I might know what it is. Hold on a second. It might be... There's some camera, but let's see if I can switch back to my main camera. Okay. I don't know what was going on there. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Chandler Brief. We're here bright and perfectly fine in the afternoon at 4 p.m. as we do every week on Mondays and Wednesdays. This is our live show where we break down the news for you. It's the Chandler Brief, so we bring it to you guys. Big shout out to Big Barry over on Getter, my folks over on Rumble, who I'm sure are all laughing it up over there, and my folks here on YouTube, Roxanne Shante, Aaron Behringer, Avery, Mark Wrestle. Nice to see you all. Now that we've got that awkward entrance out of the way, unfortunately, I am missing my tie. I couldn't find my tie with the colors on it today, and I can't wear a black tie over a black shirt, so we unfortunately do not have the dress code of business casual today, but I will still bring the show to you in a very professional manner, minus any glitches here and there. Anyways, let's jump down into the show, because this isn't one of our normal shows. It's obviously a tragedy has befallen us very recently. We're going to jump in and talk about that first, but big thank you to everybody who supports us here on the show. Big thank you to everybody tuning in. Let's just jump right in. Let's just get started with it. The Buffalo shooter, as you guys know, there was a mass shooting in Buffalo, New York very recently. Peyton Gendron, and that's the first and the last time I will ever say his name, because I don't really need to get it out there, posted a white supremacist manifesto right before the shooting, just 2 days before, in fact. So we're going to jump into this. The title of the show is What the Buffalo Shooting Teaches Us, because this is, with all intents and purposes, something that we can learn past and understand what we need to do to make not a thing anymore. Now, people will have tons of different solutions, and I'm not here to really provide solutions. I'm here to give you guys the information and tell you what you need to know and what it can teach us. So let's get into this. The teenager accused of killing 10 people in the Buffalo supermarket massacre posted a rambling of white supremacist manifesto only that spewed a racist philosophy and outlined his plan step by step. The shooter, who officials have said traveled several hours, claimed in a 180-page diatribe that, unfortunately, I couldn't find with my, 30 minutes of searching I did for it before I had to go and get other subjects, that he was radicalized on the internet while he was bored during the early days of the pandemic, not by any people that he has met personally. Through his research, the self-described white supremacist and anti-Semite came to see low white birth rates around the world as a crisis that will ultimately result in the complete racial and cultural replacement of the European people, he wrote, which is a theory that many people support, or at least believe in, and looking at the facts and the data, you can't necessarily deny it. Now, you can't say it's a replacement, but you can say that low white birth rates are true. But anyways, investigators believe the manifesto is authentic and matches key personal details of the suspect and how the crime unfolded. Law enforcement sources told the Post. They are still waiting to get a computer owned by the shooter, the sources said. He mentioned other racially motivated killings and said he mostly agreed with the shooter from the Christchurch in New Zealand mosque in March 2019. He said he started planning the attack in January and chose the top supermarket in Buffalo because it has the highest black population percentage by zip code, and it wasn't far away from his southern tier home. A section of the manifesto details his step-by-step plans for that day, including his breakfast and how he would drive to Buffalo and scout out the supermarket, the way he would wear his body armor and carry his gun, and how he would post a live stream online. Now, people in the chat obviously have their opinions about it. I'm going to be careful about this because, of course, shootings on YouTube are just a thing you don't want to get too crazy about. And obviously, I don't want to talk too much about the actual thing itself. And I don't want to get into any conspiracy theories like Aaron is. Avery says Chandler is kidnapped Crump. But I do want to get into a brighter side of the shooting before we delve into the actual part of it. And a person who was actually involved in the shooting and was unfortunately killed, but he was a hero within the shooting. An ex-cop, Aaron Salter Jr., who I will proudly proclaim the name of, from the rooftops, is a man who attempted to fire back at the Buffalo shooter and probably did a good amount to save others who could have been in the line of fire, but had the time to get away because he shot back. Let's delve into this. The ex-cop supermarket security guard that died exchanging gunfire with the Buffalo supermarket shooter on Saturday died a hero, says his son. Aaron Salter Jr. was identified by his son as the beloved Tops-friendly market security guard and former Buffalo cop who tried to stop the teenage suspect. Today is a shock, said Aaron Salter III. I'm pretty sure he saved some lives today. He is a hero, as he said, talking about his father. Salter Jr. drew his gun and fired at the shooter, but his bullet could not pierce the 18-year-old's armored tactical gear. Gendron, the shooter, then fatally shot the guard before he continued his hate-fueled rampage in the grocery store, which serves the predominantly black neighborhood of Maston Park. He was eventually confronted by Buffalo cops and taken into custody. The shooter later pleaded not guilty to killing 10 people and injuring 3. Investigators claim he was fueled by hatred of people of color. 11 of his victims were indeed black. Before the deadly rampage, Salter Jr. had spent the last 4 years working at the supermarket after a 30-year career in the Buffalo Police Department, his son told the Daily Beast. Salter Jr. left behind 3 children and reportedly joined the police department right out of high school. His mother, Carol, worked as a cashier at Buffalo Top Supermarket for 15 years before becoming a front-end manager until her 1986 retirement. She and her husband, Aaron Salter Sr., who have both since passed away, then opened up a dry cleaning business, according to the article. In '96, Salter Jr. survived an encounter with a suspect who pointed a shotgun at him during a burglary call. My first reaction was to duck. I don't enjoy looking down the barrel of a shotgun, and if it hadn't been for my partner shooting first, it would have been a golden opportunity to shoot us. My partner probably saved us. And it's very beautiful that Salter Jr. was able to do the same thing for those people in the market. Potentially, more than likely, saving lives as we learn more about this. And, well, here it is. This is one of the Salters. I actually don't know if it's Salter Jr. or Salter III. I'm going to assume it's Salter Jr. I think they would picture the father who lost his life but was the security guard. I can't confirm it, though, but this is one of them. Hero family. I don't care which one it is. I want to highlight them. I am a jack of all trades, a master of none. His profession for his profile for his position at AWS Hydrogen Technologies modestly read, I'm always working on my vehicles and or my project of running engines on water for the last 4 years or so. I would like to realize my dream of getting cars to run off of water using my newly discovered energy source someday. And wow, so apparently he had some set up hydrogen fuel system. Well, that's definitely not going to calm down the conspiracy theories around all this. And then, of course, here's the shooter. So obviously it's going to get into a little bit more of the water stuff. We don't need to get too far into that, but as you can see, it's truly a heroic thing that man did, and I'm severely proud of him, honestly. I think he did a great thing through that, and I don't know what to tell you guys what further. I wanted to delve into this to kind of give a little bit of sight into the tragedy around it, but now we're going to delve into how the politicians are responding, which I believe is the exact opposite of what needs to happen, and it's really shocking to see what these people will do. Over on Gitter, y'all are getting real active. Trigger says it's all good, talking about the camera, I assume. Texas 2 Love says, I bought everything Mike sells. It's all great betting. Yes, talking about My Pillow. We'll get into that probably another time. I don't really want to peddle my Pillow code on this show. Shout out to Davini, nice to see you. Linda the Good says, God rest their souls. And Big Barry says, may God bless this American hero's family. I completely and totally agree. Completely. But now we got to see some people who, well, they invoke the Lord's name, but I don't quite believe that they see it as anything that, well, stands for anything. Governor of New York, Hochul, I think it's Hochul, says, Lord, forgive the anger in my heart. Hochul vows to battle hate, gun, violence after Buffalo massacre. Because it's not about the families that lost lives or anything. It's about the hatred and the gun violence after the massacre. New York Governor Kathy Hochul pledged to crack down on gun violence and the proliferation of online racism after a white man wearing military gear opened fire at a supermarket, killing 10 people and wounding 3 others in an act being investigated as a hate crime. Hochul, speaking at the True Bethel Baptist Church in her hometown of Buffalo on Sunday morning, told the congregation, this is personal to the Hochul family. Lord, forgive the anger in my heart, but channel that into my passion to continue to fight to protect people. Get the guns off the streets and silence the voices of hatred and racism and white supremacy all over the internet. Because that's what they do. Every single time some sort of tragedy happens that they can spin for whatever direction they want to push it, they will not even wait 24 hours. They will not wait for the bodies to get cold, forgive my crass language, for them to start pushing whatever they believe in. And whether it's about silencing the voices of hatred on the internet and white supremacy, and getting guns off the streets, that includes off of the hands of people like Salter Jr., who was legally using a gun to defend those within that market and himself, even if it doesn't go the way it needs to go. Fortunately, he was able to do what he needed to do. Unfortunately, people like Kathy Hochul, who are already disagreeable enough to not follow the Constitution, not follow the natural law and order of self-defense, and not even follow the general decency to wait at least 24, 48, maybe 72 hours for things to calm down and simmer down a little before you start peddling your political opinions for expediency. They don't do that. They just jump right in saying, let's get these guns off the streets because that's the way to fix it, right? Now, we don't know whether the shooter was able to get that gun legally or not. He was an 18-year-old, so I believe, depending on where he's from, although if he's from Conklin, New York, I don't even know. I don't follow the rules and laws of those states all too closely, but I would not be surprised if there is some sort of ruling that he couldn't. But either way, no matter what it may be, it is more than possible that he could have gotten the gun legally or illegally. Either one is possible. Restricting guns on the streets is not going to immediately save the issue. I don't understand how these people think that pushing this at a time like this is how you fix the issue. The shooter, who was identified as that name, of Conklin, New York, drove about 200 miles to Buffalo for the attack, which he made public on live streaming platform Twitch. Authorities said he was fueled by a racist and anti-immigrant agenda detailed in a manifesto that emerged online shortly after the incident, which included elements of a far-right conspiracy theory alleging white Americans are at risk of being replaced by people of color. State, local, and federal authorities are coordinating to investigate the attack as a hate crime, and Joe Biden on Saturday said broadly that a racially motivated hate crime is abhorrent to the very fabric of this nation. I want to silence these voices. Now, see? You start off obviously in the speech, probably not quoted. He starts off saying, my hearts go out to the families, prayers, thoughts, whatever. But then he jumps right into a racially motivated hate crime, abhorrent, yada yada. I want to silence these voices now. Because that's the way you do it. They get something that they can spin whatever direction they want to spin it, and all of a sudden, it's a big issue. It's a big political battle. It's a war. No longer fought with bullets, but it's fought with who gets the right to even speak. It's not even a war of words, it's a right of your right. It's a fight of your right to say words, which is, I'd say, much, much worse. We will let this end right here, because we are going to rise up, and all of our white brothers and sisters need to be standing up as well in churches all across the state, all across this nation. Gosh. That's really crazy to me. But unfortunately, that's not all Biden had to say. Because now he's going to be headed to Buffalo tomorrow after the massacre, right? President Biden will travel to Buffalo on Tuesday in the wake of Saturday's hate-filled massacre. Governor Kathy Hochul wrote in a tweet Sunday shortly before CNN's report that she has spoken to Biden about the shooting and that her hometown will welcome him anytime. I appreciate his outreach and the opportunity to tell him about my hometown's strong, resilient, and fighting spirit. We are the city of good neighbors, and I told them we are all welcoming him anytime. We will welcome him anytime. This brings back to another issue, though, because right after that man drove over people in Waukesha, Wisconsin, Joe Biden never came to visit. Jack Posobiec tweets, Joe Biden never came to Waukesha. Retweet this picture so it never gets forgotten. This is the image later that evening of chairs, little tents, little wagons left on the streets as people ran for their lives. I think that's a can of Arizona tea still standing right there. These people were scared. And we know for a fact that it was indeed a racially motivated attack. Just look at the history of Mr. Brooks, who I barely want to say the name of, I won't say it again, but that's the man who ran over those people and killed a few in Waukesha. Those lives aren't coming back. I've talked about it all sorts before. We were still doing our live show back then. And it's a painful thought, truly is. But he never came to visit. He barely had thoughts and prayers to give. Yeah. Linda the Good says, yet Biden has never been to the border or Wisconsin. There you go. Pullhammer says, Waukesha, 10 minutes from my work, horrible racist attack. It's truly abhorrent. You know, I think they're both terrible things. I think they can both be terrible racist attacks that need to be condemned, and I'm proud of people for doing it. Unfortunately, though, there's just not as much action, not as much activity, not as much care about attacks that specifically target white people, or even targets that are attacks that are perpetrated by one of these people of color, not for any racial ideation, but just because they want to do it, because they want to hurt people, because they are sickos. There's no condemnation. There's no attention. The attacks that happened in that subway train, which was perpetrated by one of these people of color against other people of color and other white people, no attention. After the first day, it was gone. The sniper attack that happened in Washington, D.C., Jack Posobiec's been talking about all of it. There's definitely a few I'm missing. These things happen, and it's not a good thing that they do, and nobody is willing to talk about it. And if they do talk about it, nobody's willing to actually get out there and start pushing for solutions to the issue that aren't left-wing, take away your rights, take away the guns, take away your right to speak out, take away everything you've got. So that when somebody comes for you, you can't speak. You can't shoot back. You just got to take it so that when it happens to you, you get hurt, somebody else will come down and take even more rights from people just like you. Even though you're not around to have your rights taken, they're going to keep doing it. And it's the most abhorrent, disgusting thing I think I've ever seen. It's really terrible. And of course, Pullhammer, I talk about everything I can. Everything I see that I feel is necessary to get out there, and I know it's necessary to get out there, we're going to get it out there. So let's talk about this. The great replacement theory is trending on Twitter. Of course, people are now talking about it and saying, this is what inspired the shooter. We need to tear down these far-right white supremacists, even though this guy was harping on and on about how much he hates people in the right wing and he despises Fox News. Whatever. So here's a few articles, but let's read some tweets. Matt Wall says, the left, whiteness is a problem. The right, the left thinks that whiteness is a problem. The left, that's the great replacement theory, you racists. And of course, Ben Shapiro, I don't want to get into that. I want to see some negative tweets about it. Of course, let's say Ida Bay Wells or Hannah Jones. Critical race theory literally explains why great replacement theory exists. But now, just days after a white supremacist massacre, the same person who created an entire book banning hysteria about CRT are justifying and promoting GRT. Absolutely shameless. Absolutely shameful. Okay? Brooklyn Dad Defiant. Oh, yes. Any member of Congress who actively pushed the white supremacist GRT should resign in disgrace immediately. Looking at you, Elise Stefanik. Now, Elise Stefanik has actually rejected this quite heavily. And of course, everybody's got their opinions of Stefanik, but let's check out, because she actually posted about it, and a few people have been slamming her for it. But I want to see, where is it? Because she actually posted a statement. I'll scroll for just a little bit longer. Oh, here it is. Perfectly. Just in time. I don't want to read this whole thing, but Congressman Stefanik says, our nation is heartbroken and saddened to hear the tragic news of the horrific loss of life. As a New Yorker, I am praying for the entire community and loved ones. It is a tragic reminder as we begin National Police Week that we must particularly thank and honor our law enforcement and first responders who continue to face skyrocketing violent crimes across the nation. And that's against the media smears against her. And then any implication or attempt to blame the heinous shooting in Buffalo on the Congresswoman is a new disgusting low for the left. They're never Trump allies and the sycophant stenographers in the media. The shooting was an act of evil and the criminal should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Fair enough, but unfortunately, it's not going to quell the 8,000 people who like this tweet and only 214 that are commenting under, of which is probably people saying she should be sued in civil court by the families that lost their lives. Are you serious? Are you serious? Because I didn't see anybody coming out to say we should be suing the left-wing media who propagated the Kyle Rittenhouse trial so much so that Mr. I don't even want to say his name, but Mr. B, who drove over those people in Waukesha, should be suing the media for it. I'm not seeing anything like that. I'm not. Of course, they've got a whole list about GRT. Here are the people who are responsible for it. We need to take them down, obviously. They're just pushing the same stuff over and over again. It's pitiful. It's really sad. Elise Stefanik, Ron Johnson, Dan Patrick, Scott Perry, J.D. Vance. It's cap. It's all cap.
Stop the cap.
It won't stop them, though. It really won't. Well, let's see what Ted Lieu said. Great Replacement Theory is a vile, racist, and false conspiracy theory that the Buffalo murder relied upon. GOP Rep. Elise Stefanik ran ads promoting it. Why does Elise Stefanik has now issued a statement, and no word does she say, I condemn replacement theory. Why? Well, because she doesn't need to. I really don't think she needs to, because I've never seen her promoting it. I've never seen her directly saying we need to be doing something and getting these people of color out of our country. No, it's never been anything like that. It's always been, these are the struggles, these are what's happening, and this is what we need to do to fix it. I don't know about y'all. I really don't. It's all come down to political hackmanship, and it's really true to see Brooklyn Dad Defiant, Ted Lieu, and all these Kathy Hochul, and even the president, quote-unquote, of the United States, Joe Biden, pushing it. But speaking of the presidency and it being nothing but political hackmanship, the leading doctor, apparently, Dr. Fauci, has said that if Trump is reelected, he will not continue to serve as White House Chief Medical Advisor, which I think this is great news. I truly do. Let's check this out.
If Trump were to return to the White House as president, and COVID is still a threat, or there's some other public health emergency, would you have confidence in his ability? Would you have confidence in his ability to deal with a pandemic of this nature? Would you want to stay on in your post?
Well, no, to the second question. The first question
I think
is,
I knew the answer to it, but I had to ask you.
Thank you.
If you look at the history of what the response was during the administration, I think, at best you could say it wasn't optimal. And I think just history will speak for itself about that. I don't need to make any further comment on that, Jim. It's not productive.
You would not serve with Trump again, though. That's fair to say.
Right.
Well, that was a little awkward, actually, but let's see the people celebrating. What is this? Oh, that's so good. Grand old memes. I had to look at it for a moment. There you go. Here, guys, take a look at this. I think it's
Ultra MAGA
Trump who's out here. Look at that. It's Trump. It says your terms are acceptable. Bye, Fauci. Somebody says can't let Trump get reelected at all. Well, look at this. Biden, Harris, Build Back Better. Oh, and I think that's the Bernie little wave, isn't it? That's hilarious. We will all be voting for Biden in 2024. Look at that horrendous ratio, 645. Your we will be few. And as you can see, President Joe Biden's job approval rating has hit an all-time low, apparently. Interesting, so many voices here are attempting to cast shade at the most cited medical science for the last 30 years. What does medical science know that you don't? I think we know that the masks don't work, that the vaccines are hurting people, that the lockdowns hurt our economies, and we are still suffering to this day. These are all things that Dr. Fauci would dispute, and YouTube would probably delete me for saying. But thankfully, I don't think anybody's watching here. I don't think any YouTube people are watching us here. So that's the good stuff right there. No YouTube moderators like Chandler. It's over. That's not happening. Linda the Good says Fauci resigned now, and murderers. Yes, history will repeat itself. Well, unfortunately, we're seeing how it's repeating itself, because it does turn out that when you lock down your country, destroy your economy, and send billions to another country, like Ukraine, billions, we run out of baby formula. As you can see, Biden's emergency baby formula website has been a total disaster because, yes, it was so bad they put together a website for parents and mothers, I should say, in need, and unfortunately it didn't work. In online nomenclature, if a video or photo breaks the internet, then it means that the viral object is wildly popular and ubiquitous across the web. Unfortunately, that isn't what we mean when we say the Biden administration's website for parents seeking baby formula broke the internet. That news site is such a disaster that even CNN is blasting the thing for failing to work as advertised. On Friday, then Press Secretary Psaki announced that the Department of Health and Human Services created a new tool for parents that would serve as an easy access guide for how to locate baby formula products. And as you can see, is this it? Manufacturer hotlines? Might be it. That would serve as an easy access to guide for how to locate baby formula. As the nation suffers a shortage of the substance necessary to feed so many babies, we recognize that parents have a lot of questions, resources, and places that parents can go to obtain the formula, including contacts with companies, food banks, and healthcare providers. They are going to be a one-stop shop. But alas, when that was tested out, CNN was met with frustration and long wait times just to get some answers. The exercise resulted in an apologetic customer service representatives, one hold time that lasted well over an hour, and serious challenges in finding baby formula through some of the main suggestions listed on the new HHS website. For example, the government website lists the phone numbers for Abbott's consumer hotline. When CNN called that number with inquiries, they were told that the company does not answer questions over the phone. The government website also pointed folks to Reckitt's customer service line. The reporter was placed on hold for 72 minutes and concluded that the option could drive some anxious parents over the edge. Psaki presented the website as if it were a solution for families. Instead, it appears that the website established by the Biden team merely provides easy, Googleable contacts for companies. Meanwhile, baby formula is being sent to parents on the border. On the border. Border Detention Center looks stocked with baby formula despite shortage. And as you can see here, let's check this video. Oh, that is not the video we're looking for. That is something else. See if we can find the image here. There you go. So, let me zoom out so you guys can see this full thing. There's a ton of stock of baby formula. And then, as you can see, do not take. And then this is the facility it's in. Wow. Let's check this out. Let's read this article here. As American families deal with a shortage of baby formula across the U.S., a Florida Republican lawmaker has released images of dozens of boxes of the coveted product at a migrant processing facility near the U.S.-Mexico border. Here it is. I don't know why New York Post is trying to play me something else, but let's watch this.
But something that I absolutely have to share with you right now is the craziness of the empty shelves Biden movement and the fact that they are sending pallets of baby formula to the border. Meanwhile, in our own district, at home, we cannot find baby formula. This is a picture from a Target. Oh, it's upside down, sorry. Okay, we literally are struggling to find baby formula around the country. Moms are struggling going from store to store to store, and then the stores are actually capping the amount of baby formula that they will sell them. And this got sent to me by a Border Patrol agent this morning and said, "This is disgusting. You will not believe this." They're receiving pallets and more pallets of baby formula at the border. This was taken at Ursula processing facility where thousands are being housed and processed and then released subsequently into the United States.
Just to give you guys a little bit of geographic ideation of how this is going down, Ursula Processing Center. I want to give you guys this. So this is the Ursula U.S. Border Patrol Processing Center. This is it. Right here. And this is, once I get to where Panama City Beach is, or around this area, I think it's somewhere in here, or actually I can't even be for sure. I don't remember exactly where her district is, but within the state of Florida. She's a Florida representative. This is where parents cannot find baby formula. This is where it's being shipped to. Right near Mexico, at this Border Patrol Processing Center, with very better views over on Google Maps. But as you can see here, zoom in, this is Ursula, Texas. Just very far down, right at the border, right next to, baby formula is actually closer to a Mexican city of Reynosa than it is to American families in Florida. Does that sound right to you guys? This is American baby formula. Keep that in mind. It's on American soil. It's purchased by American manufacturers, and they're being I can't even say purchased, collected by the government and shipped down to that border area. Representative Kat Kamek shared pictures of pallets of infant formula at the Ursula Migrant Processing Center in McAllen, Texas, on her Twitter and Facebook pages Wednesday. The first photo is from this morning at the Ursula Processing Center. She wrote in a tweet accompanying side-by-side photographs of full and bare shelves. Let's actually take a look at this tweet as well, so we can get an even better idea of it. So these are the same images, but really shows you something. Similac, is that even baby formula? Is that a kind? And even if it's barely any left. This is what America Last looks like, is how she caps off the tweet, which makes the most sense. It really does. In a video posted to Facebook, Kamak noted that while migrant children deserve to be fed, the stockpiling was just another example of the America Last agenda. It is not the children's fault at all, the congresswoman said. But what is infuriating to me is that this is another example of America Last. The images feature dozens of boxes of various baby formula and milk supplement brands, including Nido and Advantage. In one of the pictures, the formula appears to have just arrived after being shipped to the facility, and it is marked with a "Do Not Take" sign. All these processing facilities are receiving pallets of formula. She was noted that earlier in the day they received 3 more pallets, and those are on their way to the facility. Kamak said in her video that she was sent the images by a Border Patrol agent who has worked in this role for 30 years. Baby food, 84 boxes at 24 equals 2016. So you can see the little apple squeezers, and then there's the baby formula with no artificial growth hormones. Awesome, really is. This is America in crisis. Meanwhile, we clearly see how the Biden campaign responds to it. And I can't even say, the Biden campaign, the Biden administration, although apparently they're going to be campaigning again soon, right? Biden says he's going to run for re-election. Meanwhile, the issue is only going to be exacerbated as more and more illegal immigrants cross into the nation. This was just today. As you can see, these are people wading across a river to get to America. They've got little tubes to help you float in case you get to a spot where you're not tall enough. And they're just coming on over. Coming on through. And then lining up with what appear to be Border Patrol agents to be taken to some sort of facility. And some of these people might end up having, and if they're having, some of them have babies with them. I can't see which ones. I think maybe he does, or somebody in here, they've got babies with them. They've got young people with them, very, very young people, that will end up having some of that formula that you are struggling to find yourself. If that sounds fair to you, then maybe we don't see eye to eye. Because it doesn't sound very fair to me. Now, were these people able to get their hands on baby formula back at home? Maybe not. Maybe that's why they wanted to come to America, of which it's the most logical thing. I can never truly fault the illegal immigrants for it. But what I can fault is our government for putting people that have their own struggles against people that had their struggles and moved to another nation for it. Other nations that are Western don't have anything like what we have in America. Some of them have refugee crises, and some of them get a little far with that, and I guess that's slightly comparable. But in America, we have a problem that does not compare to any other nation. And it is only going to get worse and worse as we do nothing to put a stop to it. Once again, this is incomparable. Captures video showing Americans what a completely open border looks like. In any other country, video like this would be leading every nightly news broadcast, whereas ABC, NBC, and CBS, as you can see, covering the shootings that are happening constantly. 2,000 plus crossings in this specific spot in the last 8 days. That is about the size of some cities in America. That's more people than I have watching my shows in a month. On all my platforms. Big tech censorship has been a real doozy. I actually posted a tweet about it, and I'll highlight this real quick before we move on to our last story. I was looking at my Twitter history and looking at some tweets I posted a long time ago. This was November 2019. The tweet had 7,900 likes, 7,000 likes, when I posted it after, a couple days of it being out. This is the tweet. I screenshotted it today. I have had thousands of people banned off of Twitter, which means their likes have been deleted from everything they've ever liked. Retweets were also erased. It went from 5,000 retweets it had all the way down to 2,000. Which, it doesn't matter now because the tweet's already been seen by all the people and had the interactions, but it does show you that I've had followers erased, I've had people no longer be able to see me on Twitter, and I've lost a lot of engagement, which is what happens here on YouTube and everywhere else as well. And it all comes from people saying we need to halt the ability of GRT and right-wing, alt-right, whatever it is. Because they say alt-right, they say it's just the 10% of the right wing that we need to censor so that we don't have any more racists and things of that nature, but it's not just that. As much as they want to curb racism, they end up curbing black voices like mine erased off of the platform because, well, I don't say the things they want me to say. Or I talk about the pandemic in ways that they don't quite like. And they censored the media. They censored right-wing media like, I was going to say Fox News, but I can barely even call that right-wing media. But I don't know, Breitbart or Babylon Bee. It's not even right-wing, but it's more of like a Christian satire. It's not news, but they've censored them. They've kicked them off of Twitter. They go after everybody. And it's really crazy to see that they want to keep going. They want to push even harder with it. Kathy Hochul, President, quote-unquote, Biden wants to push even harder with it. It's a big issue. It truly, truly is. But now, I want to go down to one last hilarious little thing as we take aim at the media. Justice Clarence Thomas, well, he was, it was bad. He says, I will absolutely leave the Supreme Court when I start doing my job as poorly as you do yours. Check this out.
One of the things I say in response to the media is when they talk about, or especially early on, about the way I did my job, I said, I will absolutely leave the court when I do my job as poorly as you do yours. And that was meant as a compliment, really.
Nope.
Yeah. I think we've neglected this side of the room.
Oh, gosh.
All the way over here, yes.
It really is good to be me. It really is.
I love him so much. I haven't heard Clarence Thomas speak that often. He's obviously not a very majorly public official, or not a public official, but not a majorly public person. He's not constantly doing live streams like I am or posting to social media. In fact, I don't even think he has any direct social media that belong to him, but man, does he sure knows how to work a room. He says, man, it feels good to be me.
It really is good to be me. It really is.
And he has a laugh that will really bring a smile to your face, even in the midst of very painful times in our country, like the things that are happening in Buffalo, or even a few months ago, like what happened in Waukesha, or a little bit more recently in New York and DC. It's been a hard year for us, no matter the cost, and it's gonna get worse. And I say no matter the cost because, well, some people just don't care about the cost. Those that are driving us even worse in this country, like Biden, like Kathy Hochul, like all the people who are pushing for the same old no more drilling in America, keep the gas prices high, send billions to Ukraine for whatever purposes they see fit. It is hurting people like us in America. The American mother who wants to feed her child because, unfortunately, she cannot breastfeed. She had some sort of disease or her body just doesn't produce enough breast milk. She has to use baby formula to feed her child. She is struggling to get to a Target, a Walmart, a Publix, a Kroger, whatever the local Ingles, whatever the local grocery store is. Can't find baby formula there. Meanwhile, the El Salvadorian mother who walked up, a few thousand miles or rode with somebody who unfortunately has dealt with a lot of hardship in her life and has definitely not had the same American privileges that same American mother has had, is now being treated quite a whole lot better than the American mother in the American mother's own country. Now, I agree with Kat Kamak. I say that child who did not make that choice to come all the way up, just wanted to follow their mother for a better life, does need baby formula. The thing is, I don't think we need to pick and choose. I think both the American mother should be able to purchase the formula and the small amount of illegal immigrants that we house in facilities temporarily while we displace them back to where they came from or some other country that is willing to accept asylum seekers, like, for instance, that El Salvadorian mother and child, should be able to be fed baby formula while the temporary time they're there for a small time. But unfortunately now, that choice has been made for that American mother, and the tax dollars that she previously would have split with sending to the government and actually spent a little to get the baby formula, who unfortunately is struggling and having to borrow from other people or maybe beg other mothers to feed the baby, as gross as that sounds in my opinion, although I guess it might just be necessary. It's happening now. Meanwhile, those tax dollars are going towards that El Salvadorian mother who, unfortunately, has gone through a lot, but that American mother isn't getting the same thing that El Salvadorian mother is getting, even though the American one is paying for it. Does that add up? I know there's a lot of American, El Salvadorian tax dollars, and it's a confusing situation, no doubt about it, but it is painful for every person involved, and it doesn't have to be. Our economy could be so much better. We could be having not as many shortages as we are having right now. We could be sending those billions that are going to Ukraine to instead, build the wall or feed some of these mothers and children who unfortunately aren't able to get their hands on baby formula. But it's neither here nor there. We send the money to Ukraine. We send the money for COVID relief, and it goes somewhere, more than likely to people that don't quite like America as much as those taxpayers do. But that's neither here nor there. Unfortunately, it's everywhere, and we can do so much more to break it down. But it all starts here by getting informed here on the Chandler Brief. So thank you guys so much for being tuned in today. Shout out to Agar Khan, Avery Youngblood in the chat, Linda the Good over on Gitter, my folks over on Rumble. I really appreciate you. We, of course, do this show every week on Mondays and Wednesdays at 4. You don't want to miss out on it. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe with the notification bell turned and enabled so you get notified every single time we go live. Also, make sure you follow us over on Telegram because I post when I go live over there as well. And also make sure you don't miss out on our shows we do every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8. Crump Live, where we're a little bit more chill than we are during like these types of shows. We kind of have a little bit more fun. We cover some topics. We try to go for a little bit longer, although no guarantees. And we all in all have a great time. So make sure you tune in to that as well. Big thank you to everybody who's been here with us today. I'll see you guys bright and late in the evening tomorrow at 8. Make sure you don't miss out. And aside from all that, I'll catch you next time, free thinkers. Don't forget to spread the virus of intelligence. Peace.
Stop the cap.
And you ain't black.
Rub my leg down.
Magda.
Into the light we go.